Here we go. Hey, welcome everybody. We're doing another edition of Blind Date with a Book. This is Pages Promotions February Book Festival. We're having a blast here. Every night we're bringing a different genre of books to you from indie and small press authors from all over the United States and Canada. We're having a blast. So much fun. And we're so glad that you're here. We're going to start out with... I'm going to share my screen. I always get clunky with this at the beginning because I can't really remember where I am, but here we are. So this is Blind Date with a Book. So we're not going to tell you the title of the book. We're not going to show you the covers of the book. We're going to give you a little snippet of the book, which the authors are each going to read 5 minutes, just 5 short minutes. And then afterward, you're going to be able to guess who wrote the book. And we're going to give away some prizes, or we're just going to have some fun. So, Andrew, do you want me to do this commercial thing tonight, or do you want to do it? It's up to you.
I will do it unless you want to.
No, let you. So Andrew's going to tell you about all the fun that's coming up the rest of the month with our mini workshops. Here you go, Andrew. In the meantime, while he's doing that, I'm going to have everybody answer the first of our polls.
Yeah, and thank you for this wonderful slide that always helps me remember everything. Because sometimes it's be good if I had a brain. But
yeah, me too.
This month, the month of February, there are only 4 days that we're not having an event. And it's not just wonderful authors and fantastic readings and blind dates with books and you suddenly becoming enthralled by somebody that you may or may not have known, but there are 6 mini workshops that starts out on February 11th. And on February 11th, our own Kate McNeil will be leading us in social media for authors, how to structure your brand and sell more books. On February 16th, Strangelove, How I Learned to Embrace Contemporary Poetry as Non-Academic with Michael D. Jones, and he'll be walking us through poetry and making us feel better about it. On the 17th, there'll be a fantastic Poking the Comedic Derriere writing comedy workshop with Christopher Gare, and Christopher is going to make us giggle, make us laugh, and show us how to make everybody else giggle and laugh. On one of the favorites coming up on the 18th, Backwards and Forwards Using History and Fiction, we'll have Julianne and Xander. They'll both be presenting and showing us how to weave history well and how to make sure everything works great. And then on the 20th, we'll have a mini workshop for crafting book trailers for authors with Andy Lockwood, who is a terrific author and a fantastic filmmaker. And he's going to show us how to really excite people with great book trailers. And then last but not least this time, on February 24th, I will be teaching you how to build suspense into your writing. And I'm going to weave it in using a fun story that was a very positive story that's been changed to use keywords and a little bit of everything to make your heart beat a little faster and get you enthralled in the book. It's going to be great fun. All of these workshops are only $2, cheap at twice the price, actually 10 times the price, and it just goes to pay for the actual technology. Jump in, let's have some fun, and let's learn from each other.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. You always do that so well. You're so much better at it than I will ever be, ever. One more thing I want to remind you of so that everybody can write down the URL, which it just occurred to me is in really tiny letters. So I got to fix that slide. But we are connecting all of the readers and authors to our virtual pop-up bookshop. Every one of the authors has their books represented on our website and more. If they had a bigger catalog than they're reading from, I try to connect everybody to as many books as I possibly could. And if you would like to buy a book, buy it from them, ask them to sign it, they will. If you're getting it from an outside source, say like Amazon or some other distributor, you can click on the author's name in our bookshop and they will send you this really super snazzy limited edition signed book plate. It's numbered and everything. It's got acid-free, lignin-free little sticky back thingies on the back, so you can keep them forever in a photo album if you want, your scrapbook, tuck them inside the book that you bought from the author, whatever you'd like to do there. And those are free. All you have to do is contact the author and they will mail them out to you. So let's get this party started. What do you say? Let's jump right in. The authors have selected short little 5-minute readings for you, but even they don't know which one of them is going to read first tonight. I'm springing it on everybody. It's the element of surprise. You'll learn from Andrew that that's kind of an important thing to know how to do. So here are the books that we're going to do. We're not going to tell you the titles or the authors. As I say, you get to guess, but you might want to take a look at these partially revealed titles. We've given you some clues. Take a look. And later on, after everybody reads, you'll get an opportunity to guess who goes with what. When you guess who goes with what, we're not giving you any prizes for that because, you know, I've only got 100 prizes to give away this month. But you do get bragging rights on Facebook tomorrow and all over the rest of social media. And that's not too awful. Bragging rights is good. We like bragging rights. Right, Amy? Bragging rights is good?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So tonight we're going to start out our readings. Each author gets a mere 5 minutes to read for you. I'm going to keep the clock going. And I'm going to let them know when their time is up. So tonight, we're going to let Scott start us off. Lucky you. You get to go first, Scott. Whenever you're ready. 1, 2, 3, go.
The next Saturday, Danny headed to the Rock Creek Festival. After the scene she'd caused the other night, she was surprised she'd even been allowed out of the house. Daddy hadn't really said much about it. Danny hadn't told anyone she was coming here. Even the band wasn't expecting her. I wonder what John's going to think. The car part she told Daddy she was going to Los Angeles to get were safely in her trunk already. She hated lying to him, but there was no way he'd have let her come here. And she couldn't think of any other way to keep her promise to Carrie and Shelley. This was the only place she knew for sure Bobby would be. Besides, it wasn't right to let the rest of the band down. It's just one more time, she told herself as she turned to the fairgrounds. After this, no more lies. Inferno would have to make it or break it on their own without her. Vic and Daddy are right. John's no good for me, no matter how much it hurts to admit it. After this, my guitar playing is for the Lord and him only. No more playing both sides of the road. Carrie always said you only end up hurt that way. Now, the fact that Carrie was right stung almost as much as knowing she couldn't be with John anymore. There's no way I'll ever feel that special again, she thought. But it's undivided devotion from me from now on, Lord. Just get me through this one last thing. She found the spot where John's gear was stacked. Plopped into his folding chair, she cocked her head. Is that a Bible on his amp? She reached over. It was one of her brother Vic's old Bibles, open to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Verse 7 was freshly highlighted. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. In the margins, in John's messy handwriting, her name was scrawled inside a heart. She set it back down. Okay, so he's reading the Bible. That's great. It doesn't mean he's good for me. But what if he's really taking it to heart? Anyone can change. Even Carrie preaches that all the time, and Vic believes it. But no, good for him. Vic might have talked him into Jesus. That doesn't change what he did. Danny choked the hollow ache spreading from her middle. I just got to do this show, talk to Bobby, and get out of here. An hour later, Bobby glared at Danny as she laid into the opening solo of one of their songs. Basil had begrudgingly consented to allow them to follow their opener with a pair of their originals. Danny felt the rest of the band holding their breaths, waiting to see how the crowd would react. She dropped to her knees, bending the strings till they almost popped, allowing the last note to invade the space. The crowd erupted as she leapt to the center stage, the band kicking into the groove behind her, the front row reaching out, grasping at the fringes of her jeans as she strutted, teetering across the stage. She tried to breathe, drinking in the adulation. She wondered if this is what it felt like to be high. She closed her eyes as John jumped into the opening lyrics. The undeniable chemistry she'd felt with him the first time they played together coursed through her veins, her head fluttering, beating time for his voice as she continued to play her guitar. Don't look at him, Danny. Don't do it. As the band hit the last note, coming to the cold close, Danny ventured her first look at him, hoping despite herself that he'd be looking back. He has to miss me a little, right? His back to her, he poured every ounce of energy into the crowd. That's okay. It's all part of being the singer. She kept her eyes glued to him through the next song, watching every sway, every slide as he worked the crowd. She knew he could feel her in the music, knew it with every note she dragged out of her strat. Knew it even though he never looked at her. Once, twice she thought he was going to. He looked far enough stage left she could almost see the blue in his eyes, but he turned away before she could make eye contact. Later, the crowd continued shouting, screaming, and raising general pandemonium while Danny cornered Bobby backstage. Look, thanks for playing this time, Bobby turned back. Now go away. Listen, Danny grabbed his shoulder and turned around. We need to talk. Bobby gave her a dirty look. Get used to it. The crowd's volume rose to a point that she doubted he heard her, so she repeated herself loudly. It sounds like we got to go back out. Bobby strapped his guitar back on and shouldered past her. Didn't you hear me? Bobby pulled the curtain back, separating them from the stage, and said, look, skip the encore. I don't care. We're better off without you. But then he retreated after peeking through, shaking his head in disgust. From the other side, Danny heard along with everyone else. Yeah, okay. I've got one more. An acoustic guitar strummed slowly with the mixture of conviction and mediocre musicianship that Mark John's playing. I'm going to let the band sit this one out, though, he said. I probably should have played this one first. I wrote it yesterday, and it might be the only chance I get to sing it to the girl I wrote it for.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you very, very much. You know what, Scott? You need to go let your dog in. He's missing you. Your dog is missing you.
Yeah.
We like dogs. We like dogs. You can let him into the room. That's okay. All right. I got to get my thing to stop doing its thing. Hold on, you guys. Technical difficulties. Okay. I could do this.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Trying to do stuff with my machines. I'm trying to do stuff with my left hand. It's not my thing. Okay. Next up for the reading, we have Deborah McDonald. You're gonna read next.
All right.
Ready?
Ready.
Set, go.
Eva poured the rest of the Coke out as she walked home. She was so upset with Misty ditching her that she couldn't unwind. She paced the floor, then ran upstairs and jumped in the shower, hoping it would calm her, but all it did was get her wet. Before getting dressed, she pulled out Mama's mirror and stared at herself. What is wrong with you? She threw the mirror back in her drawer and put her clothes on. Hours had passed, but she still couldn't let it go. She needed to tell Misty how she made her feel. Once again, she picked up the phone and dialed Misty's number. But again, no one answered. Her anger took on a life of its own. She was determined to give Misty a piece of her mind before the night was over. She looked out the window. Dusk had fallen. She stormed out the door. The cicadas were making their awful noise, fueling her emotions. She covered her ears and headed towards Misty's when she saw Wesley and Rodney running around the yard chasing lightning bugs. Eva loved lightning bugs. She saw them as flecks of God's light in the earth. For the moment, her anger was diverted. As she stood and watched the boys zigzag around the yard, cupping their hands together in midair, one flashed in front of her. She caught it with ease and headed for the mason jar sitting on top of a stack of bricks that had been in the Joneses' backyard as long as she could remember. There looked to be close to 20 lightning bugs flashing against the glass. She unscrewed the lid and added her catch to the collection and placed the jar back on the bricks. Rodney ran up behind her and shouted, "Look," and held out his hands. Eva spun around. Her jaw dropped in disbelief. It was the last straw. All the emotions that had been building came bursting out like water breaking through a dam, giving way to an old crack. Her emotions spewed at the boys, catching them off guard. "What did you do?" she screamed. The boys froze. She screamed again. "What did you do?" "We made glow rings with their lights." "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." Eva unscrewed the lid to the jar and shook it, trying to force the lightning bugs to fly out. Stop, those are ours. We caught them, give them back, Wesley shouted. Rodney lunged at the jar and tried to pry it out of Eva's hands. Give it to me, he demanded. Eva screamed, no, you can't have them, they're not yours. She threw the jar against a stack of bricks, shattering it. A few of the lightning bugs flew away, but most of them clung to the pieces of glass as though their life depended on it. Patricia came running outside to see what the screaming was all about. What's going on? She threw our jar of lightning bugs and broke it. Patricia looked at the pieces of glass on the ground and then at Eva. Is that true? Eva screamed, yes, but they were killing them. Eva, calm down. Eva's anger boiled. I can't calm down. Why would you let them do that? They're just bugs, Patricia answered. What do you mean they're just bugs? Eva couldn't control her anger and screamed even louder. They are not just bugs. They are God's creation. I don't understand how you can let them do that. She took a deep breath. This is all her fault. If Eve hadn't done what she did, this would never have happened. Everything is her fault. Patricia rubbed Eva on the arm, trying to calm her down. Why don't you come in the house so we can talk? Eva bellowed. I don't want to talk. There's nothing to talk about. The boys are crying. They should be crying for what they did. They're crying because you are scaring them. If you can't control yourself, maybe you should go home. We can talk about this later. Tell Misty thanks for nothing. Eva took off running towards her house. She was out of control in a state of delirium. The back door hit the house as she swung it open with force. She felt like her head was going to explode and could hardly see where she was going. She fled upstairs, fell face down on her bed, and sobbed into her pillow. Why, God? Why did Eve do it? It's not fair. It's not fair. Eva was so exhausted she couldn't cry anymore. She grabbed her legs and pulled them into her chest. As her mind cleared, she became embarrassed. What is wrong with me? Am I losing my mind? How am I ever going to face Misty or her family again, she wondered. She wanted to crawl into her hole and never come out. She felt sleepy, but was afraid if she gave in, she would have another bad dream. But her exhaustion got the best of her. And that's all I got.
Well done. 20 seconds to spare. Good job.
That's plenty. That's plenty. Awesome job.
Awesome.
Awesome
Yeah.
job.
Now I can breathe.
Yeah. Inhale, exhale.
You have to exhale. I didn't get that part at first. It made me just keep blowing up.
All right. Hey, Amy, you know what that means?
I think
It means
I do.
you're next. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, go.
They say I can't remember being a seed. That was too long ago, they tell me. No one can remember that. But I do. I remember growing on my mother, me and my brother connected to each other. And more than anything, I remember that glorious feeling when we finally let go of our mom that crisp fall day. Together, for the first and only time in our lives, we started to fly, spinning around, being carried by the wind to our new and final home. The feeling was amazing. I could have flown like that forever, carried off on the breeze to who knows where. My brother was more practical. We have to be careful where we land, he reminded me. Once we land, there's no moving. That's where we'll live forever. We must choose wisely. As if we had any choice in the matter, I thought to myself, but I didn't say it to him. He wanted to feel in control in a world where our entire life was really up to chance. Would we land somewhere with fertile ground, where the sun would shine down upon us, letting us grow up tall? Would there be neighbors to shield us and nurture us during our early growing period, but not so close that they would crowd us when it was time for us to go from sapling to tree? It wasn't for us to decide. We were at the mercy of the wind. She would decide where we would land and where our home would be. Let my brother worry about the future. I would just focus on the glory of flight. We didn't go far, mostly just down. We're too close, my brother warned. We'll never thrive so close to our mom. And yet I loved our mom, the tree who created us seeds, first green, then slowly brown until it was finally time to leave. I loved the flight. I loved the idea of adventure, but I also didn't want to go too far away. I wasn't sure I was ready to try to live without my mom. Did my feelings somehow affect where we went? Perhaps. Or maybe it was just chance after all. Either way, when we did touch down, we were still very near to her. What would have happened if we'd gotten further away, I've wondered since. Would it have made any difference? It's been a good life all in all, but still. During the lazy summer days as I was growing, my mom would whisper words of wisdom to me, messages passed from her roots to mine. Don't gorge yourself, she would reprimand, on the days when the sun streamed through her branches and fell on my few tender leaves. Don't gulp your sunlight. But Mama, I argued, just look at all this. I can make so much food and I can grow so high enough to reach you one day. Not at that rate you won't. You'll fall before you ever get to this height. Slow and steady and straight. That is the secret to a long life. It's not about how fast you grow. It's about how long you get to keep growing. But Mama, I whined. She didn't argue back. She didn't have to. She just adjusted her leaves, ever so slowly growing them above me, shielding me from the bountiful sun. I still got enough light, plenty enough to grow at the pace she wanted for me. There was not much I could do except appreciate what she gave me and wait. Mama, I said to her one day, why do you share your nutrients with the trees around us? I knew that because of the fungal network, trees were able to share water, nutrients, and communication with each other. I just didn't understand why we would. You don't have to share, do you? Why not keep it all for yourself? You could grow so tall if you weren't always giving away what you have. Should I stop sharing with you? Was her pointed response. Well, no, I replied. I'm your daughter. But what about the others? I didn't have to explain who the others were. She knew. The ash trees and the old oak, they were not her children, not any relation to her, but she shared with them all the same. I share with you and your brothers and your sisters, it's true, because you are my offspring, and I want to help you grow up strong and tall. And, she added, I feed the others, as you put it, for the same reason, to help them grow. We need each other to form the canopy that we all require to live and be healthy. She stopped and took a deep breath of carbon dioxide. Then very slowly and clearly, so I would be sure to hear her, she told me, always remember this, my dear one. It takes a forest to raise a tree.
Oh, well done. And you had 17 seconds left.
Woo!
Good job. Yay! Always so much fun when we're on time. It's great.
I just love how you lumbered through that.
Somebody get a snare drum. Well
You
done.
would.
Well done, everybody. Such great readings. Oh my gosh. I'm just having so much fun this month. I can't even stand myself. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you guys the screen again, and I'm going to throw up the poll so that you can vote. Let's see if I can find the handy dandy poll to vote. All righty, there you go. There's the poll. Who wrote what? Go ahead and vote now. Don't
come on. You can do it.
Don't forget. It's all about bragging rights, you guys. So if you get it right tonight, then you get to brag about it all over social media tomorrow. Wouldn't that be fun? We are having a blast here. 9 out of 18, 50% of us have voted. This is so much fun. I love this polling thing. This is like, it's just ridiculous how tiny things make me so happy.
You are just having too much fun, Diana.
I am. I'm having way more fun than anybody should be allowed. It's so great.
I like it a lot. I like it more than a lot. It's just kind of fun there. We appreciate it.
All right, we got two more people to cast their votes.
You know who you are, you last two.
Yeah, you know who you are. So there. Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you just a couple more seconds here. All right, let's take a look. I'm gonna end the polling now. Guess what? Those are the answers, and guess what? here are the books. Look at that. Look how well everybody did. Amy Kelso, I'm going to say that again just because I can. Amy Kelso, she wrote, "It takes a forest to raise a tree." Danny's Inferno was written by Scott Rutherford, and Finding Eve was written by Deborah McDonald. Well done, everybody. Yay! And the peasants rejoice. Okay, let me get back to where I'm supposed to be. There we go.
Just
So
real
good job,
quick.
everybody. What was
Just real
that?
quick, I've got to say that Diana, these are new authors to Diana. And for those of you that don't know Diana is one of the greatest friends of the Michigan authors that there can be.
Not me, the other Diana.
The other
Oh.
Diana Duell,
Yeah.
she goes to numerous events and usually purchases almost everyone's books and reads them very well. She is an excellent friend to us all. So be happy that she's found you. Lots of fun.
Yeah. This is a really rare occurrence that these are new books to Diana. So we're super happy, Diana, that we were able to introduce you to something new and get some new books on your shelf. Like, you know, you have room for more books, but I know you'll make space. I have faith in you, Diana Duell. Okay.
There's always room for more.
Always. I mean, if you've got to add on another room to your house, you know, there's always space.
You do what you gotta do.
That's right. Exactly.
Clear stuff out to make room for books.
Always. You know, your refrigerator can look a little bare, but not those bookshelves. Absolutely not. Okay. So let's, I'm gonna do this in a different order because so many of you were asking, and I know it's gonna come up in the chat question. So I'm just gonna jump right to it. Tonight, Scott Rutherford is giving us a special gift. We are super happy, Scott, that you're doing this. I think this is super generous. I'm really, really pleased. I can't thank you enough. So Scott did this really fun thing with his bandmates, and they have a free song download that everybody who's in the room tonight gets. This is the song he was referring to in his reading. If you go here to, the song's called Daring to Dream, and it's by a band called One True King, also known as 1TK. If you go to this, Scott, I shortened the URL to fit on the graphic. So if everybody goes to this tiny URL, in case you can't read it, because it's kind of fancy writing, it's tinyurl.com/3E like elephant, 758, Z like xylophone, O like ostrich, V like Victor. Okay, if you go there, use the password Inferno, like the name of the book, you'll get a free download of the song. Also, the band is donating profits from a second song called Damn Strong. And those profits are being donated to relief efforts to serve those who were affected by the failure of the Edenville and Sanford dams in May of 2020. So that's a really cool thing that they're doing. Scott, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I do want to say I'm not in the band. I've written a couple songs with them, but
they're your mates, right?
Yes,
so bandmates fits.
They are my mates, but yes, I do want to thank them for helping out with that, and also it's XOV, X is in xylophone, OV.
Yeah, that's what I said, wasn't it?
You said
Yeah,
Z.
actually, we said Z.
I'll update the address in the chat.
But other than that, no, thank you very much for sharing that with everybody,
Yeah.
and by all means, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun writing it.
Yeah, it's very cool that you guys are offering that. I know people were already asking for it in the chat, so I'm glad that we were able to satisfy everybody's curiosity with that. So,
Yes,
cool.
it also
Thank
comes
you
as a
again.
free download for anybody who buys the book. So,
yeah, I noticed you had a sticker on the cover of your book talking about that. So that's very super cool. So are there any questions? We're going to take questions tonight before spinning the happy wheel. So does anybody have questions for our authors, Amy, Scott, and Deborah? If you have them, just throw them up there in the chat, and Kate and Andrew will help me identify them.
Or we'll start
Anybody?
things off again.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we do. So I can start while our panelists gear up. Amy, thank you for
Yes.
being at all of the events so far. I've watched you in many of these events. I am curious, where did you get the idea to tell the book from the point of view of the trees?
Well, first of all, I grew up reading Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach.
Very
Yeah,
good
who
book.
didn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do something like that. And I'm like, well, I want to write about trees, but what, trees can't walk, they can't talk. What? And then I was reading a book by, I've got it here, The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wolvensben, which is, he's a scientist and he was talking, scientifically about trees, but how they actually communicate through the fungal network. And I'm like, oh, and then the idea just sprang from there. So
Very
like-
cool. I think it's a really neat approach to talk about life from the perspective of a tree. We have property in lower Michigan, and we have 20 acres of hardwoods, and you always wonder, what are they talking about? So this was a really cool book for me to read, because I felt like I got that inside story on what the forest is saying. It's a pretty cool read. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they're talking about me. And Amy, I appreciate your stance on Jonathan Livingston Seagull, who was son of the great Gull himself,
Exactly.
as he said, but a very good book that meant a lot to me.
Yeah,
Scott,
me too.
Similar question. Where did your inspiration come from?
Well, my book is largely based on the parable of the prodigal son, and it actually started out as a series of bedtime stories I told while I was working with at-risk teenagers. It's funny how these real tough gang kids get to where they want their bedtime stories. But it started as that, and I played around with writing it for a long time. But it wasn't until I changed the main character from a male to a female that it kind of went from a story that I wanted to tell to one that I had to tell. It just became so much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. So, Deborah, where does your inspiration come from?
Although the book is not about me per se, I think a lot of it is taken from my own life, but totally different story. But just, a lot of things came from experiences that I've gone through. And then a couple other just people, more just, people in my life. So I would just say that. And ultimately, God gave me the inspiration. So that's
Awesome. I have a question for everybody, the three of you, and we'll start with Scott. Do you have any other projects in the pipeline?
Well, right now I'm working full-time and going to school full-time to become a teacher. So we're waiting till this summer to really start working on the next project, and I'm debating between a sequel to this book and a historical project. I could say I've got them in the pipeline to the point that I'm outlining them and in doing some of the step sheeting, but the actual writing will probably be this summer that I really start to tackle that.
Yeah, one of those things that a lot of people don't remember is that even when writers are not physically writing, we are still writing.
Yes.
So we're always working on something. Deborah, what about you? Do you have something new coming up?
yeah, I have a second book. Finding Eve was my first.
Is it a sequel to this first?
No, it's not. It's nothing.
Another standalone then?
Yeah, it's called The Bridge. So,
Okay.
do you want me to tell you a little bit about it? I mean, just real quick, or just?
Yeah, just give us a little bit.
Absolutely.
Give us a little bit.
For some reason, I write about younger people, young adults, I don't know why, but this book is, the main characters are 4 12-year-olds, 2 girls and 2 boys. And that's all I'm saying. That's it. It's just because Finding Eve is, the main characters are 15-year-old girls, Eva, and then her friend Misty. So,
Okay.
but
Awesome.
I'm excited about it. I'm very excited. I really think it's really coming along. I'm only, I'd say, halfway done with it, but
It's always exciting when we start a new project. I know I've got 4 of them working on right now. Amy, what about you? Do you have something coming up?
Well, I'm working on a set of short stories that are kind of science fiction, just set in the future, but with a positive spin of how we could make this world a better place, kind of giving some hints on that. So I'm working on that.
Cool.
At some point in the back of my mind, like you said, we're always working on some. I'm working on a sequel to It Takes a Force, which is going to take place down underground in the fungal network. So
Very cool.
we'll see how that
Very
goes.
cool. Okay. Any other questions before we go to the spinny wheel of happiness? Anybody? No? Okay, let's go to the spinny wheel of happiness. Can Diana do it? Yes, Diana can do it. Yay! There's the spinny wheel of happiness. As you see, everybody's name is on here. We're going to click this. We are going to give away tonight 4 books. We're going to give away 1 copy of each of the author's books tonight. And then we're giving away a 4th book from another author. And I'll divulge that when we get to it. If your name is not on the spinning wheel of happiness, it means that you didn't register in advance to the meeting. So next time, make sure you get here early so you can get your name on the spinning wheel of happiness. So here we go, spinning for the first one.
Clickety clickety click 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 click.
Yay! Deborah Pritchett. Deborah Pritchett won a copy of Amy's book, It Takes a Forest to Raise a Tree. Yay!
Can't wait to read
yeah,
that one,
and
by
she
the way.
even signed it. But remember, if you want a book plate, contact Deborah through our bookshop and get a signed, numbered, limited edition book plate. That'll be fun. Okay, now going back to the spinning wheel of happiness again. I love the spinning wheel. Here we go. One more time. I wish you're singing, Andrew.
Boom. Oh, you saw.
Michelle Vandermerland. Yay! Michelle, you have won a copy of Danny's Inferno by Scott Rutherford. Woohoo! Yay! I can't wait to read that book. That's going to be fun. I have a husband who plays guitar, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, and 3rd spinny wheel of happiness. Ready? Here we go.
Country road, take
Take
me
me
home to the place I belong.
Yay, Dave Kilgore. Congratulations, Mr. Dave. You won a copy of Finding Eve by Deborah McDonald. Yay! And then we're going to do it one more time and give away 1 final book because this particular author sent me more copies of books than I know what to do with. So here we go. One more time.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain.
Yay,
Oh, there's
Jennifer Wilcock. You get a really fun copy of House of 13 by Andy Lockwood. This is a really great book. It's a little bit of suspense. It's a little bit of horror. It's a little bit of thriller. And it's a little bit of historical novel all thrown in together. It's full of amazing stuff. Andy's a great author. You're going to love him. Okay.
He's really good.
Awesome. Look what we did. We gave away books. I love it when we give away books.
We
Now,
gave
you
away
probably-
a thriller tonight.
Hey. So now that you've won, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get my book? Here's how you get your book. You go to your email and you send an email to me before midnight tonight, Diana@pagespromotions.com. Some of you have already done this, so some of you may already know how to get this done. It's not real hard. It's an email. You put your mailing address in the email and you send it to me so that I have your mailing address to send your book out to you. If I don't get it by midnight tonight, I'm going to put your book back into the rotation with the other books to give away later in the month, and that would be very sad. So don't do that. Make sure you get me an email by midnight tonight. Also, tucked inside of one of the books that we are giving away this month, there are 3 tickets. Look at Amy, she's helping, yay. There are 3 tickets. One is a golden ticket, which is a giveaway for a Kindle Fire 7 tablet, and this is the ad-free tablet. So it's super extra special. The silver ticket is a Blood in the Rain prize box donated by author Jacob Bullen, and it's got 2 of the books in his Blood in the Rain series, the first 2 books, and it's got a really snazzy long sleeve hooded sweatshirt. Super cool. And the third one is the bronze ticket donated by the ever astounding Andrew Smith, and it's got the Masterson Files prize box attached to that ticket, and which has 5, count them, 5 books in the Masterson Files series that Andrew wrote. Plus, it's got a really snazzy canvas tote bag and an aluminum tumbler with a plastic still spill-proof lid. It's the adult version of a sippy cup, which is way cool. So everybody gets a chance. It is. It's really nice. It's blue. It's so cool. So everybody who wins a book this month gets a chance at winning one of those 3 extra special prizes. And again, Scott Rutherford, I'm just going to throw this up again just so everybody can see it and make sure that they have the download link, because Scott was so generous in giving this to us tonight. Again, it's Daring to Dream, which is the song by One True King, also known as 1TK, from the book Danny's Inferno, written by Scott Rutherford. And there's the URL and the passcode. So if you want to hear more from Scott, this is where you can connect.
You'll
Okay.
enjoy hearing them sing it a lot better than if I sang it.
Is the password case sensitive, do you know?
Scott, is the password case sensitive?
Pardon
Amy's
me?
shaking her head no.
No,
I
I've
don't
already
believe-
tried it.
Oh,
Amy
okay,
already
awesome.
tried
I
it.
was
So
saying,
there, no, so yeah, the answer is no. The password is not case sensitive. So
good to
there
know.
you
I've
go.
always tried it in all caps, but it's good to know that it works either way.
Spectacular. Thank you, Kate, for getting that information up in the chat room for us. And thank you again for being my backstage scribe. I appreciate that. Okay, any last cutting shots over the bow from our authors? Amy, you first. Parting shots?
Now I'm on the spot. I don't know. I would just like, I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know what to say now.
Okay. Well,
Thank you for
read
coming.
your book,
And
right?
yes,
read
read
your
the
book.
book.
Read the book.
I appreciate
That's
you being
always
here.
the parting shot. Always parting shot. Scott, what about you? Parting shot?
Wow, just a good time tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming out while the rest of the world is watching sports. And,
Yeah.
you know, gosh, good books. I really look forward to reading these 2 ladies' books. They sound really good. And again, I just want to publicly thank One True King for recording the song and making it available.
Absolutely. Thank you to them as well. Deborah, parting shots from you, my dear.
I'd just like to say, just thank you to everybody that, joined us and buy my book.
See, when you get an opportunity, take advantage, always. Okay, Andrew, thank you again for being my instigator of insanity. I appreciate that. And for bringing us the Crusade sword tonight. It's always nice to have a theme, and if we can do swords as our theme, why not? You've got enough of them. You've got enough of them. We can do it. Kate, thank you again for being my sanity keeper and my backstage scribe. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who came into the event tonight. We appreciate you coming out for books, coming out for spiritual and Christian reads. We appreciate your kindness and support, and we will see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow we're doing mystery books. This is one of 2 mystery book blind dates that we're going to have, and that's tomorrow night. And we're doing that. I just got to check the time. We're doing that at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So come on back. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and it's time to go pet your dog. Bye-bye. Have a nice night.
Bye.
Thank
I'll
you.
come back now here.
Thank you so much for hosting this, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yes.